All right, so welcome to another edition of the Deals for Dentists podcast. And today we are joined by Matt LeLacheur, and he is from AGR Technologies. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so you can go to dealsfordentist.com and you can check out AGR Technologies promo offer, which is get free website SEO with the purchase of an IT support plan, and that's called their AGR 2021 support plan. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and it's really meant like much of what we try to do to make it highly customizable, not a one size fits all, because we know though much of what happens in the dental industry is similar, each office is different and each need is different based on what you've got currently.
Now, are you able to offer this nationwide?
We are. Yep, we're able to handle it nationwide. We have supportability nationwide, and we have overseas support for kind of that off hours help that'll happen at different times throughout the day.
Okay, so I read here, AGR is established in the year 2006. It's a global team of IT solution providers and a combined world experience of more than 25 years in the field of managed IT security, networking, infrastructure, strategic IT consulting, IT system integration, and other IT related services. So you guys do a little bit of everything, huh?
Yeah,
Full encompassing.
all sorts of good buzzwords there, huh? Yeah, it's the reality of it is what we've tried to do in my time of being involved, and I became involved about 4 years ago with the organization. The company came into existence a little over 13 years ago. What we're really trying to do is make it easier to be in the retail space, and specifically we've niched in very well into doctor's office, dental offices, and being able to provide the solutions for those professional office environments, and have become pretty good at handling all aspects of what's happening in there. And like anything else, it's happened some through trial and error. The world changes so much nowadays in IT and in everything else that now with years of experience doing it, there's not much we haven't seen as a group that we can't come to a solution for anybody and what they need.
So how did you get involved with dental offices and the health professions?
Yeah, I'll give you kind of the two lays of the land here of how it all came together. The organization the company was started by a gentleman by the name of Syed Rizvi, and Syed has extensive experience in kind of managed IT solutions. And he was asked by a friend to use his experience from back into the mortgage business as he was setting things up in the banking and mortgage world, and some other areas that he had done, if he would take a crack at helping him on the dental side or the dental office side. And he as I mentioned, it became, because it was a friend, it was a little, I wouldn't say low pressure or low stress, but it was a chance for him to go through it and make sure he got it right and take his time. And through, getting the majority right through experience, and then in a little bit of trial and error, you come to make sure that you've got everything going. And that's now 4 or 5 years ago. And ever since then, it just kind of found that this was a little bit of an underrepresented market, an area that no one had really specialized into. And so Syed saw that opportunity and brought in people like myself and others to make sure that we didn't miss out on that opportunity.
Well, if a lot of dentists out there like me, you have to, when it comes to IT, you have to talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old, because a lot of it is just goes way over my head. When we come out of dental school, we know the clinical side of dentistry. We don't know anything about IT. We're not trained on any of that. So this is such a like a foreign language to me. So also, I'm reading that with your IT support, you will provide free SEO with guaranteed results to get your website into the top 10 results for 10 keywords you select for your region. So let's start with SEO. And can you explain a little bit about what SEO is and about the keywords?
Yeah, I can. And I can tell you, as the guy who's the business development guy, IT was a little foreign to me as I first started getting involved with these guys. But it's been a great learning curve. And so if they can teach a guy like me, they can help anybody. So you're in good hands. The SEO side of the business, it stands for search engine optimization. It's been out there. People have probably heard that phrase in the past. The goal and the point of it is just to make sure when someone's looking for your office, that if they are searching under certain words that you would expect, dentist in whatever town it may be, or, need a filling in, or some kind of phrase or group of words or a single word, that when that's happening in your geographic area, that your website comes up first, or at least on that first page. It's so vitally important to be in those first 10, to be in those first few that come up. Statistics will bear out that if you're not in the top 3 to 5, you might as well not be there. You might as well be in the 15th page, because people won't search much. Most people will not search much beyond that point. So that's what SEO is. It's just optimizing the words that someone goes out there looking, not specifically knowing they're looking for, Dr. Block, but knowing they're looking for a dentist, and making sure they find you, that those words and that situation leads them to you, or leads you to one of the highest rated options that they're going to find.
Now, how does proximity play into that? So if someone's Googling, I need a dentist near me, and they're right outside my office versus, a mile away, is the office that's closest to that device going to pop up first, or is content and engagement more important? How does that work with SEO results?
If we've done our job right, you're going to pop up first. But
Mhm.
it's all part of a soup, let's say. There's no one ingredient that in the end is more valuable than the other. But you do need to make sure that you've kind of geolocated those search words. So if they happen in that specific zip code or in that town, that you're going to pop up more than if someone does it from, Wisconsin, or if someone does it, us being located here in Northborough, Massachusetts. If someone's looking for a local dentist in California, I don't really need to pop up. That's not gonna help. But it's also continuous content. Continuous content. It's all a rating. Google will analyze your website, and the more current information and the more link backs that you have, and a number of other pieces to this, will drive you up those search results, and will get you to a better place to drive those eyeballs to your website, and then see if you can convert them from there.
So really, when it comes down to it, when we're talking SEO, we're talking Google and your Google rankings and getting on that first page.
It is vital. In today's world, is so many different businesses are dominated by one or two or three giant companies. When it comes to search, if you're not ranking with Google, you might as well not rank. The other search engines are important, and we handle those as well, to make sure that if someone's searching on Bing or some other avenue, that we make sure you're coming up there as well. But Google is king in this market, and you have to make sure that you're coming up on those Google searches.
Can you explain link backs and what that means, and also the keywords? Like, for example, if I want to buy a keyword or focusing on a keyword like veneer or crown or implant, like those are so common. Are those words going to be more expensive or diluted? Whereas, should I be focusing on like more long tail sentences like my tooth broke and I need a crown?
Yeah.
Um, is it, as you add more words to the phrases, does it get less expensive, so to speak?
Yeah, it's not so much the cost that's going to be the key. Everybody's going to be different on what they do and do not want to spend. But yeah, if you use generic words, then then your the focusing by just the use of those words is not going to necessarily lead you higher up the ranking. The more you focus what exactly you're trying to target, the easier it is for you to rank higher as you go up the food chain in that market.
Mhm.
So the more targeted you can get, obviously the better. But those catch-alls, you can still play with those. And that's where kind of the special sauce of having done it for a few years now, Syed and his team on the SEO side can really drill down with a dentist and talk about what you initially think you want to say might actually be better phrased another way to be cost effective and to get you driven up that board. And so that's on that phrase side of your question. That's where you really do need someone to sit down, when I'm trying to, grow a business in another area, it's not the same as trying to do it with a dentist. We really do need to sit and look at, well, what's worked in other areas? Why are the people that are ranking on the top of the page right now for what you want? Why are they there? How do we mimic that? And how do we get a little bit better to make sure that we go above? And then linkbacks is a simple concept. That's something that's been around for a while. If there's a chance where on your website you put something to, let's say, an article somewhere else, that people then go link over to something else from your website, that shows engagement. And when you
Mhm.
can show more engagement on a website, it drives it up. Same thing as if you were to write a blog. Let's say if you on your website, if you have something that you saw that was unique and different that you think a customer might want to know about, if you can have that on there and then there's engagement with that blog, if there's clicks and links to, or excuse me, people driving to that, that also increases where you're going to be in that score in that Google ranking.
Okay, so Google's algorithm takes all that into consideration, the engagement, reviews. I'm assuming if you have a lot of reviews on Google or other platforms, so that's all kind of like that soup that you said that all factors in on getting you on the top of or the first page of Google. So your AGR also builds websites. So when you're building a website for a dental office, do you when you're creating this website, you optimize it for SEO and certain um, functionality or words or the images, kind of from the ground up, um, to optimize that dental office so that their website does end up on the first page of Google. Is that kind of all from the back end when you're creating a website?
Yeah, and you think of it, it's no different from when you're trying to take care of a patient in any area. If you can build it right the first time, if you're building the bridge to crown, if you're doing it right the first time, you don't have to go back in, hopefully, many times and make as many changes. And that's why when you have a website, if we can build it from scratch, it can be built with the right foundation. It can be built with the right things to then build everything on top of. It doesn't mean if you have an existing website, it's something that needs to be torn down. Don't want to give that impression to anybody, but it is important to go into it for an existing site, look through, see if the foundation is correct, see what tweaks need to happen. That's an initial starting point on anything on the website of it, either built properly or redesigned properly to be ready to maximize that SEO search that we're talking about. And that's definitely a big feature of kind of the initial discussions that dentist office would have with the AGI team.
Now, have you noticed with website development over the years that it's changed, and have you focused more on like the user experience? For example, websites. I remember, maybe 5 or 10 or 15 years ago, the more information you had on there, the better. But now it seems like websites are just getting more. They're getting simpler, or there's more white space, and just trying to um, create that user experience. Is that something that you factor into the development of a website?
Without question. And really, it all drives back to Google. Google changed their algorithm a few years back, and what they were looking for and how they would score your site changed, and an entire market shifted to follow them. And that's why you're seeing some of these things. You're also seeing the engagement level that was happening on this style of website was higher than some of the original structures that we saw 10, 12 years ago. And so nowadays everything's big data and everything's being watched and tracked, and to see what you're getting that maximum value. And this is why you're seeing a shift now. 5 years from now, either a Google algorithm could change, or we'll get more data and figure out that there's another tweak or another way, and then we'll all have our. Unfortunately, that's what keeps all companies like AGR in business, I guess. So I shouldn't say unfortunately, but that's why you do need a partner who can stay engaged and be paying attention to those changes, so that way you are continuously maximizing it. Because this isn't, unfortunately, an area where you do it once, set it and forget it. It
Hmm.
does need to be maintained, not to a level where you should feel like you've got to break the bank, handling these types of things. But it is something on a consistent, monthly and then an annual basis, you've got to reevaluate exactly so you stay on top of, and you're getting the results you're looking for.
Yeah. So, in full disclosure, AGR helped me develop my second version of my website. So the first version I developed during the shutdown, and I was just looking at YouTube videos and how to build a website. And I created a WordPress site, and then I went back to my private practice once the shutdown was over, and I didn't have the time or the knowledge to really create a well put together SEO optimized website. So AGR helped me develop the second version of Deals for Dentists, which we totally started from scratch, like you said.
Yep.
Just to start it right, from scratch. So you're building it in a correct way to ultimately get on the first page of Google, and that's really what it comes down to. Um, so does AGR also help with social media and marketing once you've built that website, and you're ranking on Google? Can you help with Facebook posts or Instagram, or do you even do like TikTok? And what's your social media um, uh, program like?
Yeah, I'll give Syed a lot of credit on this. As I mentioned, the founder and CEO Syed Rizvi saw this coming as an area that initially, if you had said that dentist on TikTok was going to be something that would be valuable to your business, I think everyone would have laughed. So, but he's put people in place to be able to help in the social media side. I think at 42 years old, it's hard to admit that now I'm old and I'm behind the times, but the generation younger than I are better at making sure that those things are there, and giving credit. Um, it's not necessarily the market that everybody wants. Not every dentist has that brand that they want to put out there where you want a TikTok video. Where at the same time, certain groups, if you kind of have to know your customer and know what you're looking to attract, or where are you in the life cycle of your business. Are you trying to get more millennial customers so you can build a long-term client base with them? If that's where you are in your growth, then yeah, the social media play could be really valuable to you. If you're a fully developed organization and driving new customers, or a large amount of new customers, isn't necessarily where you are, but the maintenance of your brand and the ease of your communication with your customers maybe is more important, then maybe you don't go down the social media side as heavily. But AGR is prepared. It just goes back to that initial kind of onboarding conversation that you have to make sure that we're delivering what you want, not necessarily what we think you want. We've seen enough to give suggestions as a group, but it doesn't have to be a cookie cutter, because no industry is cookie cutter. We know that. We know that from being across multiple different lines of business. And it's been valuable. It's been valuable to see what works and what doesn't work in each of those areas and in the dental industry.
Well, my seven-year-old daughter thinks it's cool that I have a podcast. I'm on YouTube, so I may have to get on TikTok too, just to impress her.
Come
So
on, there's got to
um,
be a way to use teeth in something that gets you viral, right? There's got to
that's
be.
right.
Yeah.
It's out there. I got to find it.
Yeah.
Um, so what's your process like? Let's say I hire AGR and I want to develop a website, create a brand. Do you have a consultation with the dentist and try to figure out what type of practice they're trying to run, what type of clientele? I'm sure it's so different for suburban, urban, rural. If I'm looking for a boutique type of dental practice that does a lot of veneers or for all in fours, or versus an HMO practice, high volume. Everybody's so different.
Mhm.
Do you sit down and have a like a consultation with the dental office to try to figure out what their goals are and then go from there?
It's really the most vital part of the process. It really is. And it's hard because I understand, dental offices are no different from everybody else right now under COVID, and how the world has changed, and how we use our time and what we can and can't do. Everything's been different. But it is vital when you make the decision that you need help as a dentist, or that you want to enhance, probably a better way to say it than, you need somebody to enhance your business or help doing that. You've got to carve out the time to clearly articulate where you are, and then let us kind of feed off of you. So that initial conversation is so vital. And it doesn't have to be. I don't want to scare people and thinking that you're going to sit down and write a war and peace type dissertation on where you are as a business. But you should carve out an hour or two. You should carve out some time to really sit down and describe what you believe. One of the best, my job in the business development side is for us to always be kind of articulating why we do what we do, how we do what we do, and then what the result ends up being. But if you start with the why you're doing it, it gets a heck of a lot easier to kind of build everything out. And so we do the same thing. We go back and, why is it that you want to grow? I mean, everybody thinks when you go into business that, grow as big as you can possibly get. Not necessarily true. Some businesses should only grow to a certain size that provides comfort for that owner. Others may want to be growing to be purchased. Well, that's a whole nother development path if you're trying to be acquired. And others might be in a maintenance mode. There's so many different ways that you can build out what we're talking about. And it starts back with that why. Why am I here? Why are we doing it? And a lot of times you don't figure out what that why is until you've been in a conversation for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, because not everybody has that clear understanding of why it is. Why do I do it? I do it to pay the bills. I do it because I have debt from going to dental school. I do it because I have kids going to college. That might be, some answers that aren't really the core of why a business is trying to grow, expand, or do what it's trying to do. So that's the key. Start there. Start with why. Why do you need this help? Let us figure that out. And then it comes back to examples. What we've found, and one of the things that's very valuable, having done this in a couple of places, or more than a couple, I should say, we can throw things to you and say, here's what it looks like in another area. How is this close? How is this off? And start that back and forth. If we spend the time on the upfront, it always ends up being a better product on the other side. And so that's where it starts.
So you start with is this done remotely? So you can do a remote consultation and try to figure out, what the dentist is looking for, the why. Because, personally, my practice has been around since 1974. And, really we're looking for more fee for service patients at this point, and promote our membership plan. So our why may be different than a scratch office that's brand new and they're just looking to get people in the door, versus an office that is looking for maybe more like I was saying earlier, like a boutique type of office. So everybody's different in what they're trying to do. So it starts with that consultation. And is that typically like an hour or two phone conversation? How does that typically start?
Yeah, it's funny how the world again has changed for the positive and unfortunately for the negative under the COVID process. But yeah, it'll start as either a phone conversation, or one of the things we found that's valuable now is a Zoom, because you get that information, but you do get a little bit more of the personal feel, at least being able to see the face. And it sounds crazy, but you can pick up on cues from someone on when they're passionate and when they're not passionate on a Zoom that you kind of miss when you're doing it as just a phone call. And so in person will never be replaced as the best way. But time wise, probably a Zoom ends up nowadays for a consultation along those lines, either a phone call or a Zoom, so that nobody has to travel or do anything. And you really maximize that window, maximize that hour or two, get through that initial onboarding, and then put it back on us to put that back to you and see if we missed the mark. The nice part, and one of the biggest things that Syed focuses so much on, and he's such a good man who's really focused on helping people. If it's not right, he's not coming back to you looking for more money because the time. If we miss the mark, we miss the mark, and it's our job to make sure we get it right. And that starts to hopefully build the type of trust that leads to that long-term relationship, which, as you described, and many dentists will understand, you really having a patient and having someone who is with you from the age of 18 to 88 or 8 to 88, there's a lot of revenue generation that happens over the course of that time that just happens by you doing the right thing and helping them. You don't have to sell necessarily extra services. You don't have to do a number of these things. You can just do the right thing and everybody wins. Syed's, built this company subscribing to the same model where We're going to get it right. And if we can have a long-term relationship of us helping your business for 10, 12 years, the revenue generation of all that takes care of itself. So it's a really nice way to approach this area. And it's something we really focus a lot on.
Yeah, that is so true because I'm in a town. It's all about the community and the schools, and we see kids from age 3 and they go off to college and they still come to see us, and it's all about that long term relationship where there's some other types of practices if they're in a an urban setting where it's just the 9 to 5. Like I used to work in an office in Brookline, and it was a lot of transplants that would work at a hospital, for 2 years and then they'd move on. So it was a very different clientele. So, every office is so different on what they're trying to do. We're trying to keep this patient from the age of 3 until they, move, or, we want to keep them for as long as possible. So it's all about that repeat business for
As
us.
some as someone who's had the same dentist for 38 years, I know,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. He brought out. It's funny, in a recent appointment I had with my dentist, he brought out a photo of me at 6 years old and made everybody in the office laugh. So, like I say, at 42 now, it was a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had our consultation, kind of figure out, what kind of brand I want to promote, what kind of office I want to promote.
Yeah.
From there, we go on and build the website and the SEO from there.
Yeah, it's half of it. One of the pieces of the process that we've skipped over in that initial consultation is, where are you in your hardware and your software for the management of your business as well? Because that is a big division of what AGR does as well. So are you using Dentrix? Are you using another management software? What version are you on? Is it working properly? Is the hardware properly talking, across all the different things inside your office? That's also a big piece of a consultation that we'd have with a potential client coming in. It's not just about driving new business, it's how efficient and productive is your existing business. Can we assist in that area as well? And there are many offices that actually, that's what they're more focused on. Driving new business isn't where they are in their business cycle. They want to communicate who they are through a strong website so that their brand that they want to project to the world is well done. But necessarily driving in a lot of new clients is not an issue or a problem that they have. Their issue is, the hygienist can't get this done because this piece of equipment doesn't talk to that, and the software used to work, but now there's this bug and an error message. I can't tell you how many times that's one of the big areas where we initially come in and provide value. So that is a big piece of that initial consultation as well. And so it's all about finding where we bring value, not necessarily selling you a product. If you're already in a great situation, I've seen Syed do it myself. He said to people, that's a great piece of software. That's a newer, you don't need anything here. As we started this discussion, a lot of this stuff is a foreign language to a dentist as they're looking at it. You need to be able to trust that the AGR team is only going to provide the service that you need to get you to where you want to be. Now, there are suggestions. Hey, you could also do this. Do you think this would be valuable? Yes, of course, that's going to happen. But the real key is to go in and identify. It goes back to, business 101. Where's the pain? Find the pain point, solve the pain. And once you've done that, then that trust starts to be built so you can go into those other areas.
So for an existing office like mine, would you come in and do a whole hardware and software audit and see how everything's running, and if we're up and running smoothly, then we kind of keep the hardware and software, because we have Dentrix.
Yep.
And do you work with all practice management
Yeah,
softwares?
Easy Dental, EagleSoft,
Yep.
you name it. There, we've come across the vast majority. Are there small ones out there that would present some form of a learning curve for me? I'm sure, but for Syed and the team, I would think there's not much that's going to throw them for a loop at this point after years of doing it.
So you could evaluate all of our hardware and software and see where we could use some improvements.
That's really a core part of the business, and I would say initially we probably gain more clients in that space of I have a problem. It's driving me nuts. My office manager is driving me nuts. I didn't go to school to be an office manager. Please solve this. And that's really an entry point in a large way for AGL.
Yeah.
Yep. And that builds out. It builds out from
And it goes from there.
there. Yep.
Now, do you typically, let's say I'm, a scratch office, I just opened up. Can you guide me on all that and what you recommend? Let's say I want to start with a specific software, or can you guide me on all the digital X-rays and um, all the hardware as well, and what you recommend for my type of office?
Yeah, by no means should we present ourselves as dental consultants completely across the board. But what we've done, I think, so maybe it's fair to say we're a little bit in that area, is we've built the partnerships and the relationships from years of doing this. Of if we don't know the answer, we know how to either put together a three-way call, a communication, somewhere where AGR can still remain involved in that process, but if we don't know directly what the best solution would be, then we can help vet some of those things because to something we've discussed a couple times now, it's a different language when you start talking technology and software and hardware and APIs and all the things that make these things communicate. And so if an AGR consultant can come in and be that buffer between, what you want in plain language, the vendor or a service provider on the other end can talk all the bells and whistles of what they've got. And in many instances, AGR actually acts as the go-between, to the translator to make sure that the right things are going to the right place.
Yeah, it's so true. Like Dentrix will do an update, and then all of a sudden, the printer doesn't work, or something, doesn't work, and you're stuck on the phone. The office manager is on the phone for 6 hours, and it's such a headache. Um, do you actually recommend cloud software versus like an in-house server at this point?
Each business is different. It is
Hmm.
it is different. It all actually comes to how that office chooses to run. So we kind of have to evaluate the management style and what different hardware or software upgrades would be necessary to change that. So each solution can be right. I think most people are transitioning to cloud as time moves
Hmm.
forward. And I just don't think there's any way to avoid that as time wears on. I think more and more services are going to be bolted on to if you're in the cloud. So I think that's probably long term where it goes, but there's still plenty of time window for someone to operate under a more localized server option. And I know a couple instances where that's been the right solution that Saya and the team have recommended.
Now, do you actually have your own cloud, or do you use like an Amazon web service, or how does that work?
So the nice part for us is we have our own service, we have our own cloud service. So we have the ability to take it in-house and manage it all ourselves, which what we've found is that provides a lot of control and a lot of no finger, there's not as much finger pointing that can go on when something's off. If something goes down, it's inside some of our managed service. It's something we can take care of. It allows us to speak confidently to those that come into business with AGR that if something's off, it's something we can go into the back room or go into the cloud, go into where we need to go and make sure we get this stuff back up and running quickly. So that's a differentiator without question in this space for someone who's going to play in this area. To have their own cloud service, to have it internal, definitely sets us apart from most of the others that are playing in this space.
I just picture an Empire Strikes Back, Lando Calrissian's Cloud City, back there in the back offices of AGR.
Yep.
Um,
And
so
if
that's
you,
that's
and if you do something wrong, we'll turn you in and put you in carbonite and send you off like Han Solo.
yeah,
Like we all remember that.
freeze you like Han Solo.
There it is. There it is.
Um, so what about like file sharing, or if I want to send, let's say, an X-ray or an image of a patient, is that all done through your service? Is that all HIPAA compliant?
Yeah, it's when you get into this space, and it goes back to the original story of when Syed came in, one of the reasons he was a little nervous about starting in this area was because of the regulations, the HIPAA compliance, and the other things you have to be very sensitive to when you start talking about dental and doctors' offices. And so we've painstakingly put in systems and processes to protect patient information, data, creating VPNs and localized networks that will allow you to have it housed, but allowing you to access it from home and from other areas. That is a key component of what many of our clients are looking to have, and especially under COVID times, the ability to remotely access information securely has just exacerbated at this point. And I don't think we're ever going to see it go back the other way. So those secure services like VPNs and others, that's a vital piece of what a lot of people are looking for now.
What's a VPN? Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's a virtual network. So
Mhm.
it's going to be, think of when you would go log to your computer. Let's say you wanted to see your files that are in the office and you were sitting at home. You would go in to this virtual network, put in a login and password, and now you're in and access securely. So you can take all of that information that might be housed on a computer in the office and access it from anywhere once you've put together this virtual network. This virtual private network is VPN. And so it's become a big part of what a lot of businesses now are doing because they've had to send so many people remote. So many people are now working from home and working from other areas. Being able to access your computer, that tower that's sitting, in the office in Boston or wherever, being able to access it from your home office is vital to what a lot of people are doing. So, and fortunately, that's something that Syed, he's been doing that for 20, 30 years from the mortgage industry prior to starting AGR. So this is something that really goes right into the wheelhouse of him and the whole team that he's built around
Okay, so I could actually have someone that's not feeling well, and just have them work from home, kind of log in to the system, and it's all HIPAA compliant. And can you only do that type of thing if it's cloud based?
You can, it's not necessarily the same setup. You can do it if you're not in the cloud. It's a different process, but you do have the ability to do it if you're working in the, just with everything in a localized server. You can do that. But cloud-based makes it easier because it really allows you to be anywhere on any system, on any computer. And as long as you can get to the web, you can get to your information.
Okay. I'm also looking, you guys, AGR does a little bit of everything. You do app development. Do do dental offices actually have apps, or is it more just like a mobile responsive version of their website?
That's the more common. The more
Yeah.
common is to make sure you have a responsive website that allows you mobile. The statistics are obvious that the younger you get, the more that your phone
Hmm.
is where you're going to access the internet and access all types of information more than a desktop, laptop computer or anything along those lines. But the app development has been done in other areas as well. And so Syed's team that he has both overseas and here has experience in building out app options for a dentist. It just comes down to, again, that initial conversation. What is it in the end that you're looking to drive to your business? And if an app can be beneficial, that's something that we have the ability to do. I will say though, apps kind of saturated the market a few years ago. And now you can get a lot of the same result with just a really good mobilely responsive website than having to build full, app development. And it's more cost effective. So you really have to be targeted for an app to be the right thing for you.
Yeah, agreed. And it's one less thing the patient has to download. If it's an app, they have to download it. If it's just mobile responsive, then it's really just a mobile version of your website. So
Yep,
it's one less barrier that you're putting a patient through.
absolutely.
Um, you also AGR has podcasting. You can help us. You can help that dentist out there be a TikToker and a podcaster. Is that right?
Yeah, I won't claim to be the guy who's in charge of that. I just end up on all of them, trying to say, make sure everyone understands what we do. But yeah, full communications is really what AGR has tried to do, communicating the business message out to the world. And if you need that assistance, it's our job to go figure out how to make sure we can do it for you. That's the easiest way to kind of describe the whole area. It even got so far as, hey, through other trade associations and other groups that Syed became involved with, we even got a merchant services company that specifically does work for the dental market, because one of the credit card processing companies that heavily focused in the dental market, they were just absolutely killing the dentists on their pricing, because again, it's another one of those areas that's a foreign language. What are the 7 pages that come in the mail, and 140 line items? Well, we took the time to kind of learn that and partner up with a group that can lower costs there, which can be a nice way. If costs can be lowered in one area, then maybe you can just divert existing funds towards growth or some other area that's important to you, as opposed to having to go into your pocket and invest from your capital. So even going down that far, that's how far the AGR team has tried to go, to find ways to save money and then allow you to reinvest in another area.
Yeah, and that merchant services is, it's such an unregulated business that they can change their fees, they can have hidden fees, increase their fees, and it's just money going out of your pocket. So like you said, if you can control that and save some money and maybe put that money towards some SEO and get some new patients, and um, that's better for the office. So again, Matt LeLacheur, VP of Sales of AGR Technologies. You can check out AGR's promo on dealsfordentist.com. Get free website SEO with the purchase of their IT support plan, and that's called the AGR 2021 support plan. So again, thanks so much for joining us. Is there any last words of advice for the young dentists out there? Any nuggets that you want to give them?
No, I would say you want to try and find as many patients like me that will stay with you for 38 years, or whatever that number I think is now with my dentist. But what I would say is, for what we do, you've gone to school as a dentist specifically support your clients, your patients in a certain way. Surrounding yourself with someone that you trust that will do the right things to help you do what you do better, or at least more time efficient, and let your your office run. I have football in the brain from a day of football. But if your office can do things more efficiently, that's what AGR is really there for. It's really there to make being in the dental industry easier. That's the point.
A better offense than the Patriots this year, for sure.
Oh
Right.
man, yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to watch Tom Brady for another week, so it's hard as a Patriots fan.
He's dead to me,
Oh,
to everyone out there. Yeah, I've moved on.
yeah.
Uh,
If you're still rooting for him, you are a diehard Tom Brady fan at this
Tom
point.
Brady fan. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Matt. Let's be in touch.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Have a good day.